Hello everyone, welcome to Sunburned Albino ranks all the non-DLC bosses in Dark Souls from easiest to hardest. You're gonna notice there's no game audio because I took all this footage from my YouTube playthrough, which has terrific commentary I couldn't separate. You should also note that everything you see is taking place during my first ever blind playthrough of the game, which is where I'm drawing my opinions from, so if you disagree with any of them, just call me a noob and feel better, I guess. Let's get started. Number 1, Pinwheel. The easiest boss in Dark Souls is undoubtedly Pinwheel. I'm told that it has attacks, and is capable of doing damage to the player, but evidence of that is hard to find. Bulky, this guy ain't. I've seen children with leukemia that have more health, which is ironic considering how rich in bone marrow these skeletons must be. Number 2, Moonlight Butterfly. The Moonlight Butterfly is a beautiful, albeit mislabeled creature, considering that it is definitely a moth. In your first experience with it, you spend the first couple minutes of the fight running back and forth across the bridge, dodging magic missiles and cursing the game for putting in a boss that seemingly can only be hit by projectiles. Then the moth needs to rest its wings, so it decides that a foot in front of the dude trying to kill it is the safest place to land and waste half a health bar. Realistically, you'd think that getting slashed in the face 10 times would be just as draining to your stamina as flapping your wings for a bit, but apparently you'd be incorrect. This is a stall battle, leveraging the amount of Estus you have with your ability to dodge unpunishable attacks, but once a Venomoth uses Roost a second time, it's time to make it faint. Number 3, Asylum Demon. Aside from the fact that you can eat a third of this boss's life just by plunging him at the start of the fight, Asylum Demon is still very easy. Every attack is telegraphed about a week in advance and does middling damage when you think about the implied force behind a giant mace crushing your body to the ground. He's a fat bitch, with tiny wings that can only support his weight long enough to perform a useless ass crash every 30 seconds or so, which is not my definition of trouble. Number 4, Taurus Demon. Let's ignore the multiple plunging attack strat, because this boss is pointless to cheese when it can be so relaxingly murdered otherwise. Not too different from the Asylum Demon, same basic giant slamming attacks, only now with the added danger of being knocked off the high wall. You really don't want your back staring at a one-way bungee jump to a craggy death, so maintain your positioning and mind your strafing during the fight. Don't get discouraged just because each swing of your terrible sword knocks precisely a millimeter off his health. Keep up your focus and you'll be collecting his souls by next Christmas at least. Number 5, Iron Golem. Giant, with a heavy weapon, slow, easily dodged, starting to see a pattern. You've probably noticed me using the Black Knight Halberd for a couple of these fights. I get it in Darkroot Basin and keep it for the rest of the game. People say it's OP, then other people say it's OP. You watching this right now don't need to tell me it's OP, I've heard. I can just see the comments like, hey, you're getting carried by that weapon, why don't you beat Iron Golem Soul Level 1 New Game Plus 7 with only your left fist? Because even if I could do that, it sounds dreadful. Let's move on. Number 6, Capra Demon. It's the dogs. You put a small pack of dogs in any boss fight, it adds 2 extra points to the difficulty scale. The Capra Demon itself is so unremarkable it becomes a generic enemy mob in the demon's Ingle, but with dogs running around being too short to get hit by certain horizontal attacks, it gains the advantage of bullshit. Once they're out of the way, the fight is trivial. You can make it jump 5 feet off the stairs where it takes an inordinate amount of time to recover from the landing, or you can just circle around and take your openings. The Capra Demon is a guy with a small penis, and the dogs are his oversized car. He needs the help to feel adequate, but strip away his assets and you're left with a tiny member shriveling even further in the cold. Number 7, Bell Gargoyles. My first experience with gargoyles were the belfry ones in Dark Souls 2. There were a lot more of them, but at least their flamethrowers didn't reach across the whole roof. Wow, the precursor to your Black Knight Halberd was the Drake Sword? Noob-tastic, bro. Hey, if you think I wasn't gonna take every advantage available to me in a playthrough I wasn't sure I'd want to finish after previous bad experiences, you have an intolerant set of values. The gargoyles aren't difficult to deal with. Of course, it helps that I 5-shot them, but sometimes they like to position themselves where dual flamethrowers are inescapable, which is never nice. Keeping them separate is tough, just takes some skill to help them coordinate their attacks so they're both open at the same time. Once one is dead, the other might as well take a swan dive off the tower with as much chance as he has to succeed. Number 8, Centipede Demon. Fresh off 700 diagnoses of restless leg syndrome, the Centipede Demon is quite the angry monstrosity. I spent most of this fight not even being able to see my character because this dude wouldn't get off my dick. There's plenty of time to recover stamina between infrequent attacks, I just can't see through the boss. It's a fight against the camera as much as an enemy. I rank the Centipede Demon as pretty easy because even as I'm guessing when to hold down L1, I'm successfully blocking everything with hardly any damage taking complications, but I still never want to fight it again because it's disgusting. Number 9, Gaping Dragon. An intimidating boss, to be sure. You see, it's called the Gaping Dragon because its entire body is covered in mouth. or a vagina with teeth, depending on your perspective and overall disposition in life. Cutting off its tail not only gives you a weapon, though, it gives you a safe zone, because if you stand behind the dragon while it has no tail, it can't do shit. You'll mostly be spending the battle patiently or impatiently, wandering around it in circles, like you're shepherding it into a pen while you heavily tap that ass when you can. A horse can only take so many lashings of the reins before it collapses, and the gaping dragon behaves very similarly. By the end of the fight, you'll be no more scared of it than you would your own livestock, even if they are genetically modified. Number 10, Bed of Chaos. This is where we take a sharp left turn and piss people off. I got many warnings when I started my playthrough about the Bed of Chaos and how it was the most broken bullshit boss in all of Souls history. I really don't see that. For one, it's the only boss where your progress is saved even if you die. Navigating to each side of the tree and hitting whatever organic mechanism causes it to sprout flame wings grants you a checkpoint each time, so you have less to do the next time you die. I died 4 or 5 times, but it never frustrated me because you can see that each time I get a little further. I felt like I was delivering mail to my street, just like strolling past a giant watchful monster making my intended stops with no rush involved. I don't even sprint that much because it just feels too leisurely of an encounter to call for it. Did I mention the boss dies in one hit once you set the stage for your takeover of its hollow ribcage? There's really nothing strenuous taking place here. Sure, it sucks getting knocked into a gap with one attack, but you kill the boss with one attack too, so the playing field's pretty even. Number 11, Stray Demon / Demon Fire Sage. They're the same thing, almost entirely. 2 separate fights against 2 separate enemies that are almost exact clones of each other, but do succeed in being more annoying than the Asylum Demon. I beat the both of them without nailing down the mechanics of their weird little AoE bubble that manifests randomly after certain attacks, and at least in my case seemed to be unavoidable. I just resigned myself to holding my shield up and tanking the damage each time, and I wasn't happy with it. I like to know how to avoid things. But the game didn't want to tell me without severely compromising the longevity of my being alive. I don't know why From Software felt we needed to fight this boss 3 times, 4 if you count the one in Dark Souls 3. Yes, another stray demon in Dark Souls 3 is a mini-boss wandering around a bridge covered in ash. It crumbles into pieces when you kill it. Is it a burnt-out demon fire sage? Who knows? Should I have said spoilers? It's not even a real boss. I won't concern myself with it. Number 12, Sif. Sif is a great grey wolf who guards Artorias' memory and final resting place from intruders like you by clutching its fallen master's greatsword in its teeth. This is the part where the game decides that you're gonna be a fucking asshole and murder a dog in a perpetual state of grief. You, the chosen undead, are called upon to desecrate a knight's grave, kill his eternally faithful companion, and steal his goddamn ring. No matter how fervently you chase that elusive humanity by crushing it in your hands, once you've done this deed, not only will PETA make a stupid parody video game of your exploits with twice the brutality, but you can never truly be human again. Instead, you'll be a monster. Sif isn't a very difficult fight, but he's got that one double spin attack that devastates shield stability and punctures right through it for 2/3 of your health. Try avoiding that, then try sleeping at night when you've finished with your animal cruelty for the day. Number 13, Ceaseless Discharge. This boss reminded me of the old Iron King fight in Dark Souls 2, only with a much more suggestive name. Deep down, we're all Ceaseless Discharge. Just ask your dad. By the way, I didn't sign up for a mile-long hike. Where's the cable car to come pick me up and drop me off at the boss? Once you're of the level and health to not get one-shot by his attacks, it's totally feasible to just tank every hit, chug Estus till you're back to full, and get a few hits on his arms in the inner rim. Kindle the shit out of the bonfire before him, it becomes pretty difficult to lose if you're trying not to. Rolling away from his arms is pretty simple, but if he starts to discharge in your face and it catches you unprepared, you'll still be fine if you mash that healing button afterwards. You might end up with some of it in your hair or eyes, but it's nothing a wet towel and a weekly therapy session can't fix. Number 14, Quelaag. Hold on, this is my favorite part of this entire game. Wait, yeah. Oh, that's immature. Well, I apologize for failing you with Senpai, but I happen to like boobs, and I think that's not a controversial opinion. I fought this boss at the ass end of my noob sword's usefulness, so I'll understand if you disagree with how high she's been placed, although even as we hit number 14, all these bosses have still been in the relatively easy to medium range. Quelaag has the legs and thorax of a spider, and the face and rack of a Victoria's Secret model. Strafing close and to the right dodges most of her sword swings, at least half the time, and sometimes they will still hit you with no explanation given for the phenomenon. Speaking of being hit with things you shouldn't have, her AoE blast's range is about 10 feet longer than what you can visually see, so if you want to think you're safe from it, you better be on the other side of the map. Have you ever seen an attractive woman's spider half belch lava onto the ground? Does something confusing to your genitals. People told me to kill her sister Quailana for a Firekeeper soul, but as soon as I saw her impish ellipses of dialogue, I knew I didn't have the stomach for it. She's even prettier than Quelaag, though Serenity does tend to be more beautiful than unwarranted aggression. Number 15, Crossbreed Priscilla. Priscilla ranks second behind Sif as the only other Dark Souls boss I didn't want to kill. If anyone's morally justified in trying to kill you, it's her. You've invaded her artistic world and laid waste to its denizens. And even then, instead of attacking you outright, she simply asks you to please leave. The only way to fight her is to be a complete fucking bastard and meet her peaceful request with the end of your blade. She sounds so disappointed in you when you do it too. The fight is made complicated by the fact that she's invisible. You may be able to see her footprints in the ground, but you're clueless as to whether she could be winding up an attack. I'd say I got relatively lucky in this fight because I kinda just slash at her with reckless abandon and don't really get punished for it at all. I'm sure she's been trouble for others, but come on, you deserve it, you abusive goddamn instigators. Number 16, Four Kings. This boss fight's a fucking lie. It says 4 kings. By the end of the encounter, I had seen 6 kings. I don't like when things aren't what they're labeled as. Either call this fight 6 kings, or take out the pretenders to the throne. I expected there to be 4 enemies I'd have to circle around to the left of to dodge or at least block every attack and dispatch quickly one at a time before the next dude showed up, but I was evidently mistaken. The battle is pretty trivial, as long as you do a lot of damage in a short time, which with the Black Knight Halberd is never a difficult task. That's not me gloating. I know it's a rare drop. I'm just saying, I'm awesome. Number 17, Sif the Scaleless. Sif reminds me of like if Ursula from Little Mermaid was a big crystal dragon. You can't do damage to the boss until you destroy this pointless little figurine that looks like a bulimic hourglass, which is a mechanic I don't know why they wanted to put in, because it takes all of 5 seconds to run over there and smack it once so it shatters. From there you can treat the battle like a NASCAR race, just going as fast as you can in a circle, doing sprinting attacks on one of its tentacles, and being very entertaining to dumb people in the process. Sif doesn't even attack ever when you do that, if you keep a steady pace. Or if you'd rather get impaled up the ass with crystalline stalagmites, that is also presented as an option. Oh, if you're wondering why Sif doesn't have any scales, it's because the rainbow fish is an asshole. Pretty niche joke, but some people will appreciate it. Number 18, Ornstein and Smaug. The third hardest boss is, in Dark Souls, Ornstein and Smaug seem to be the most infamous duo among the Souls community, and there's merit to that. Personally, I think in terms of the difficulty of this list, we're still in the medium to mildly difficult now section. There are bosses in this game that pissed me off, but these two weren't one of them. Ornstein will glide after you like Spyro, the only dragon who can't fly, while Smaug sumo lumbers his way after you in the back trying to keep up. Ornstein, therefore, is most easily dealt with alone, and makes for a successful first target. With its frail composition, he won't last long, provided you're still outspeeding Shrek during the proceedings. Once he's been defeated, Smaug honors the memory of his fallen comrade by smashing his dead body into a pulp with his hammer, absorbing his lightning power in the process somehow, and becoming yet another giant with a penchant for jumping in the air and ass-crashing. Smaug alone isn't much of a threat, with slow hammer strikes that leave him open for slaying. When he's dead, you can talk to Jabba the Gwendolyn up the elevator and join her covenant. Number 19, Gravelord Nito. Meet the second hardest boss in my, of course, own personal, not sanctioned by any company or special interest opinion. Gravelord Nito sucks ass to fight, and that ass-sucking begins before you even enter the fog wall. The route you have to take, full of Mario cactus skeletons and pinwheel idolizers just to get to him after and inevitably before each death, is a pain. Once you pass the fog wall, abandon all hope of entering the fight with full health, because you get to make a steep drop that vaporizes half of it. If you're really unfortunate, by the time you recover from the fall, you'll be violated by the anal impact of a toxic blade before you can even heal the fall damage. I dread that goddamn beep whistle that signals I'm about to be rectally poisoned. Remember when I said the dogs make the Capra demon fight bullshit? Try a horde of additional skeletons, large and small. You can avoid the large ones by staying put instead of running toward the boss, as I demonstrate in the video, which does put a sizable dent in the difficulty of the encounter, and is the only reason I didn't rank Nito as the hardest boss in Dark Souls. But everything about him is dreadful. His AoE is useful for killing skeletons for you, but they'll be respawned and reassembled in 5 seconds regardless. This was the only fight in the entire game that I actively hated, preceded by the two most annoying, frustrating areas in the game. Without a doubt, the least enjoyable part of Dark Souls for me. Number 20, Gwyn, Lord of Cinder. Every parry enthusiast in the world just sighed so hard they ran out of oxygen and collapsed. I suck at parrying in Dark Souls. I can do it with a gun in Bloodborne, but put a shield in my hand, I just can't flick attacks away like they're nothing, like other people can. So I want you to judge this boss as if you also suck at parrying, and imagine fighting him without it. Gwyn is relentless. He never lets me catch my breath. I can't even be safe trying to fuck with his pathfinding hiding behind obstacles because all his attacks automatically seem to rush him forward through them. The only openings I could find were after he misses a kick or a grab. So the fight is just me trying desperately to maintain my stamina while I wait for him to do something I can capitalize on. It's tense, and sometimes I just don't have the stamina to block and dodge his shit, which is why I sank 4 or 5 times before I finally killed him. 100 physical block and 95 fire block shield is the only reason I made it out of there alive. So that's my list. I don't have the Dark Souls DLC, which is why I didn't put those bosses in, but I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you can feel free and or obligated to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.